Hello everyone, it's Janine here from my studio space with my canine partner Pugsley laying next to me. I thought I've been trying to think of what kind of art materials people might have in their homes that maybe don't normally do art, and I came up with the idea of perhaps a lot of you have children's felt tips. So these are just Crayola felt tips, but I imagine the techniques that I'm going to show you will work with any sort of children's felt tips. A lot of the techniques I'm going to be showing you are using water, and my guess is, as I say, they'll work with most children's felt tips because they're going to be washable so that parents can get them out of their children's clothes. So what you're going to need is, if you want to do this along with me, or feel free to just watch and maybe you'll be inspired to do something later, but if you want to do it at the same time as me, you will need some felt tips, whatever colours you like, and paintbrush and water. Today I'm going to be using a water brush, which you fill up with water, and then I can just squeeze it and access the water. I'm just using that because I find that quite convenient, but a normal paintbrush and water is absolutely fine. And you'll also need some paper. You can get away with normal copier paper for these techniques. Just be careful not to use too much water, but I did try it on some copier paper here and it did still work. And but I did these ones that you can see here on slightly thicker like card, which is, let me look at the packet, it is 200 GSM, but it's just a bit thicker than paper, and perhaps if you do have more art supplies at home, you may want to try this on some watercolor paper, but it works fine on this card, and just use whatever you have really, and you can kind of adapt what I'm doing. But if you're doing it on watercolor paper, then it is going to take, you'll be able to add more water to it. Right, so to start, I'll just show you some different techniques. So one thing I was looking at was how I can get different width of pen nib depending on how I hold it. So if I hold it right up straight and it's thinner, and if I go more onto the side, even more on the side. I think it's probably a better example of that on what I did here. If I can zoom you in there, just the different pen nibs there you can get. I mean, that's probably fairly obvious, but perhaps something you hadn't really thought of. It wasn't really something I'd thought of about children's felt tips before. I mean, these are the nibs like that. You might not necessarily have the same kind of nib, but I'm sure you can experiment and get different strokes. Now, one thing I've been experimenting with is, like, as I was saying, like liquefying it out. So my brush is slightly wet. Like I say, if you're not using watercolor paper, you don't want to use too much water, but you can see there it's starting to to liquefy. And you can see, because I'm not using watercolour paper, paper's starting to peel up a little bit, but don't worry too much about that. You know, you can still have fun without watercolour paper. And then another technique that I like is I experimented with drawing a pattern. So I just, you know, these are just quick doodles just to give you an idea of different things you can do and where you might be able to take this, but just very quickly, I don't want to bore you all, but so there's that, and then I'm just going to liquefy my brushes. Okay, that's okay. I've not cleaned it off properly. Do clean your brushes off between colours, but that's okay. It's just blended in. I like this technique because it creates like a tone on tone. You can see that there. It creates a nice tone on tone, so I have like the two different tones of turquoise there now. Just realised I've still zoomed in, zoom out again. Right, and let's see. Right, another technique that I wanted to show you was I'd again not clean my brush. So I think do what I say, not what I do. So I'm just adding like a thin layer of water, and then I'm going to go in with my pen and just that's not having quite the same reaction as when I did it off camera. Right, let me just try again. I mean, this is all experimentation, so sorry, I'm knocking my camera stand. So, you know, just feel free to experiment, and how much water, you know, makes these things work, and maybe even different colours might react differently. So there we go. You can see that go if I zoom in again. Right. See. Yeah, then it just creates nice patterns, and the more water you add, the more it's gonna just zhuzh across the page. That's a word. And so you can see this one here. There was quite a bit of water there, and I added pen in there, and actually that was this colour pen, but it has actually like spread out, showing other tones of colour in there, which is quite interesting and nice. And that's a similar one I did with a bit less water, because with this one, because there was so much water on there, it wasn't going to keep any of the pattern there. It just all spread out into colour, which, you know, it depends, you know, what you're applying this to, and what kind of effect you want. One thing that I wanted to point out was, you know, I'm dipping these into water because they're like children's pens, and I'm not particularly precious about them, and I don't think it's going to cause any harm to anybody's pens. But you know, please don't hold me responsible. Like, you know, you use do that at your own risk. But I have not noticed any issues with problems when I've done it. One thing I did do is, when I finished using the pen in the water, I just did this little doodle here, and you can see that it starts off lighter and then gets darker and goes back to its normal colour, and that's also, you know, another technique you can use. Oh, and another technique I wanted to show you was, let me zoom out again. Sorry, my camera skills are just not the best. Right, so I have like, sorry about the glare, I have a CD wallet here, and you could use anything like, you know, acetate, a bit of a packaging, for any crafters out there. This will work with an acrylic stamping block, but you know, anything, just old packaging out of recycling will work. I just happen to have a CD wallet. So what I'm going to do is scribble onto my CD wallet some colour. Do a few different colours. And then, you know, this should clean off nicely afterwards as well. So, but if it's something you enjoy, you may want to have a separate dedicated thing for this. And then, right, so I have some colours on there, and now I'm going to, where's my brush gone? Ah, here it is. Now I'm going to use my brush to pick up some colour. So if I go into that, then I can pick it up and I can just paint with it, like you would watercolour. So you know, it's just trying to think of ways, you know, if you've got limited supplies at home, you know, I don't want to be encouraging people to go out and buy new stuff, or, you know, especially while we're all in this lockdown. So yeah, so this is a way of being able to do a kind of watercolour technique. And for those of you that do have lots of art supplies, it's just, you know, it's nice to have lots of different ways of using products that you already have, like kind of seeing them in a new way. So there's that technique, and I thought that we could try and apply some of these techniques to a piece of artwork. But another thing I would recommend for supplies that you might need is a like a cloth or a piece of paper towel, so you can just clean off your brush on it. I've just been using my hand, which is not ideal. I wouldn't advise that. Right, oh, another thing that I thought of is just adding water onto the paper. I wonder if I, yeah, sorry, just add water to the paper and then, that's going much better now. That was the kind of effects I had when I was doing it off camera. So you can see it kind of going, blending away there, blending, but spreading, should I say. So then, and then it's, you can add kind of two colours and sort of overlay them. But yeah, I'd say experiment with these things that I'm showing you, because they'll vary depending on how much water you add, and yeah, there's lots of different variants there. Right, so now I thought we could have a go at creating a little picture. So this is just a very quick doodle. Here you can see that I'm blending the pen out with some water, and I'm starting to add a leaf here. I'm blending some colours together, and then you can see I'm drawing the petals on dry and then blending them out, and I'm starting to add some details here in the pen into the wet. And here you can see I didn't like the leaf, so it's quite easy to kind of change what you've done and correct it. And here I'm doing the watercolour technique where you scribble out some pen onto an old bit of recycling, or you know, whatever kind of plastic that you have, and use it like watercolour. I hope you enjoyed this video, and see you all soon. Bye for now.